Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Florian, good to see you. In this video we're gonna talk about 7 settings you should switch on with any Fujifilm camera. Simple settings, but I feel those 7 settings will enhance your camera and they're just worth switching on. Setting number 1 would be your shutter type. You can choose between mechanical shutter and electronic shutter. The mechanical shutter is limited to 8,000ths of a second exposure, and your electronic shutter can reach up to 32,000ths of a second exposure. So I personally switch both of them together on. So if I'm out and about and it's a nice sunny day and I need to go above 8,000ths of a second shutter, then I easily can just dial through up to 32,000ths of a second shutter. Right now, if you want to shoot a bit wide open, let's say f2 on a nice sunny day, it's definitely handy and you don't need to worry that you can't reach a shutter speed you would like to have. So definitely worth switching on mechanical and electronic shutter speed or shutter both together, so you don't need to worry. You just dial through your shutter speed up to 32,000ths of a second. Setting number 2 would be your framing guideline. I personally like to have my grid on. It will help me when taking an image to follow the rules of third or just get my composition better in frame, because I got those grids line running through my screen and follow the rules of third more easily than without. Setting number 3 would be your electronic level, which will help you to get a straight horizon line. Switch your electronic level on and you get the screen line through your image LCD display. This will enable you to get a nice balanced image, a straight image. Of course, sometimes it might happen when you're out and about and you want to take a picture of a horizon that you balance the image or the camera on a horizon level instead of an electronic level. On average, majority of times I found the electronic level very helpful. Right now, if I wanted to have a wall in a picture straight or anything in a background, what was meant to be straight to have straight, or as in general speaking, your subject can be balanced on an electronic level to be straight, and then everything else will match within your framing, if this makes sense. So definitely a handy setting to switch on to have a nice straight image, either in video or photo. Setting number 4 would be the histogram. I personally like to work with a histogram. It gives me a bit of better understanding how my image is balanced. I can see the blacks, midtones and highlights and then expose towards my histogram, my image. Of course, I do also got the digital version of it at the LCD screen, which says plus 0.3, plus 0.6 steps overexposed. But sometimes it's easier if you can rely on your histogram, because you do see the shadows, midtones and highlights, and you want to push the shadows and the midtones a bit higher. You want to blow out your highlights, which you can't see on a digital version of it. When it says plus 0.6 stops overexposed, you don't get really an idea how the histogram reacts towards this image. So definitely handy to have a histogram switched on as well. Setting number 5 would be your live view highlight alert, which also sometimes can be a bit distracting, to be honest. What this setting does is basically, if you take a picture outside, it will show you which part of the image will be blown out, and it flashes black and white, and this part of the image will be overexposed. However, as in general speaking, it can be quite handy to have the setting on to tell you when certain parts of the image will be overexposed. However, if you want to overexpose this part of the image, as an example, this highlight or live view highlight alert flashes quite strongly. So it might take a bit time to get used to it, but overall I found this setting quite handy in certain moments when you wanted to keep your highlights, you want to preserve your highlights. But then on the other hand side, as mentioned already, it can be a bit distracting when you know or purposely blow out your highlights. But overall, definitely handy to switch the setting on right now when you start out doing photography. Setting number 6 is definitely make sure you got your autofocus custom settings programmed, which will enhance your autofocus system for your Fujifilm camera. And this is a bit of a tricky one. You need to play around with your autofocus custom settings a bit. What are the best settings for yourself? I can give you my settings on a screen here down there, and autofocus custom settings are very handy. You can squeeze a bit more performance out of your autofocus from your Fujifilm camera, so definitely worth playing around with those settings, finding a sweet spot. What do you need from your autofocus setting? How do you set your autofocus custom settings up? So definitely handy and worth having a look into them and then playing around a bit and find the perfect settings for your camera. Setting number 7 is related to manual focus lenses. Every now and then I do like to shoot a manual focus lens, or old school lens, which does not got any autofocus or any connection towards your camera. Therefore you need to switch the setting on shoot without the lens, that the camera basically recognizes or realizes that it can shoot even if there is no connection from a lens to the camera, because you use a dummy adapter. If you don't switch this on, you won't be able to shoot with any sort of adapted lenses, so definitely switch the setting straight on. If you ever wanted to shoot with a manual lens, or every now with a manual lens, the setting is switched on. You don't need to worry about it. You can swap your lenses around, put the manual lens on, and you can go off and shoot without any sort of connection between a lens and a camera. At the same breath, you should switch your manual focus assist on as well. Set it to a nice bright highlight color to make sure when you do manual focus with your manual focus lens that you hit your focus and focus is a bit easier. So tip number 8, and this is well personal preference, I do switch sound off from my camera. I don't like it when my camera every second time or every time when I hit the shutter button beeps to tell me that my subject is in focus. I got this green little light at the screen, left hand side screen bottom, which indicates me when a subject is in frame as well. So I found it just annoying having a sound on and every 2 seconds it beeps, beep, beep. But this is personal preference. You need to know if you want to switch it off or not. And yeah guys, that's it today. 7 simple settings I would say you should switch on with any single camera. If it's a new camera, if it's an old camera, or you just want to go through your settings and see if you want to change those settings, I found those 7 settings definitely handy. Right now when you start out, you don't need to worry about your shutter type, or you just hit 8,000ths of a second for your shutter. So you can dial straight through to 32 seconds or 32,000ths of a second shutter speed. So yeah, with that said, like, comment and subscribe. Let me know what you think about those 7 tips. And with that said, I'm gonna see you, my friend, very soon in another video. Cheers, mate.